I've had, an injury that, sidelining me from work for a while. And, I went to this program where we had like art therapy, and I'm just like, oh, this is just crazy and blah, blah, blah. But, the reality of it is that it was extremely beneficial.
I just want it to be a conversation, and there's just a camera over the shoulder.
Accept that there's people that are going to be better than you at that specific thing. So I know there's going to be someone that's better at editing.
And you could sit around and say, well, I haven't started on the manuscript because I'm waiting to be inspired, right? When you show up and you sit down and you go to your spot, the inspiration does come.
If I don't put my skin in the game, shed a bit of blood, how could I expect for the return I'm hoping for to be as severe as the sacrifice?
A lot of people will be like, I could never do, I have no idea how to do, and I didn't either for the most part. It's just sitting down and taking the time to learn it once, and then when you do, it's like, oh my gosh.
I am Jeremy Freeman, and I'm a carpenter, craftsman, fabricator. And you can find me at Builder of Your Dreams on Instagram.
So we'll get into some backstory here.
Yeah.
Jeremy is my old manager from when I worked on a zipline. He's also someone who made me realize my lifelong passion for staining houses, staining log cabins. He introduced me to the exciting world of making sure that log cabins last longer. Jeremy, why don't you give us a little bit of your backstory? Tell us, a little bit of your life story.
My life story, where things began with me. Originally from Michigan, grew up in Michigan, spent 33 years there, and then eventually migrated my way up north to Alaska, and has been spending the last 8 years in Seward, Alaska, in the gateway of paradise to me. This place is just an awesome piece of landscape. I mean, the fjords are incredible here, and if you really enjoy the outdoors, this is the place to be. I mean, we're surrounded by glaciers and marine wildlife out there in the bay, and just endless adventures if that's what you're really into, and doing outdoor activities and stuff.
I think it's funny. I thought I was an outdoorsy person, and then I went to Alaska and found out that I'm really an indoor person. Outdoorsy is a different thing up there.
It definitely is. It's not for everyone, and but it's a good experience, and it's, you guys came up, you and Colin both came up at a young age, and I think that's the most appropriate time to come up and, work a summer gig and get to experience Alaska, really.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back. Colin's moving up there. I might follow him shortly hereafter, but we'll see. It's a little bit out of the way from what I'm doing right now, but gosh, it is just the place to be.
It can be. Winters are a little tough, but they're challenging, and they make you realize like how strong you can really be, and push you and challenge you into I don't know, maybe more so of a better person is a good way to put it. If you can fight that, how do I want to say it? Fight that resistance of thinking that you can't do it towards I can do it, and stride towards that and stuff.
It builds resiliency.
Yeah, absolutely. And become a more resilient person is a good term to put it.
I mean, I could imagine that. I'm terrified of the Alaska winters. I need sunlight. That's why I love Arizona in the summer or the winter.
It's definitely brutal with the lack of sunlight and stuff. But you just got to get out there and take the days that allow you to get out and enjoy the outdoors and get that sunlight when it happens and stuff, and figure it out.
So getting into a little bit more of what we talk about on this podcast, being creativity. I know you as a general contractor of sorts, but you also do a lot of other pretty creative things. I know that one of the things that you were most excited about when I last saw you was building these really cool tree homes, like treehouse Airbnbs in Kentucky or something. That was super cool and super creative.
Yeah. let me just go back real quick to 2018. And I had an opportunity to join a crew called the Canopy Crew that basically was traveling around doing treehouses before they took their niche into the Red River Gorge area. But I have a really good friend named Tabor, and he called me and asked me if I wanted to join their crew on this particular build and stuff. And of course, I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity to go and gain some experience. I already had previous knowledge of like tree climbing and rigging and stuff with my previous employment of building zip lines and canopy tours and stuff. So it was just a no-brainer. I have construction background history, and then putting, the rigging together and actually going and implementing it on this project. And it was really interesting. It was quite the project as far as like the style of treehouse it was. It was almost a 2-story, had a loft inside of it, was timber framed on portions of it, stick framed a lot of the lower walls, and then like this timber framed floor story for the second floor, and then stick framed to a roof. Altogether, I mean, from the ground to the tip of the roof, I think it was like somewhere around 40 feet in the trees, maybe. Yeah. It was probably about 35 feet, 32 feet or so from where the front door was off of the ground. So it was pretty up there.
Yeah.
It was it was quite interesting to see how it all came together realistically. And these guys already had pre-planned and prefabricated all the walls and stuff in Kentucky and shipped it all down. So basically we just had to piece it all together, put the roof on, and then do all the siding and basically get it in the dry and get it to finish, So as far as like time and how long did it take, I don't know how long any of those really typically take, but it took. We were there for a few months on the project, and it was a great crew of people. I got to meet. Like I said, my friend Tabor was on that project. I got to meet this guy Kenny, who we are now friends, and we've stayed in touch. I had my good friend Adam, who I've built canopy tours with in the past on that project, and. Yeah, it was just, and Donnie, I mean, I can't, he's, watching him work, and his craftsmanship is just phenomenal, and the way that he takes his time and how he plans things out was really interesting to see and stuff. And he's just, I think he's like a little bit younger than me, but, he's got, it's like having that old man mentality. At such a young, at a young age, where he was just very meticulous on how he did things and stuff. And that was really inspiring to see, and how he took care of his tools and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's super interesting. So how do you kind of get started in it? You said you had a construction background. How do you get, like, when did you start climbing and when did you merge those two?
Yeah, man, I think we're talking like early ages of my life is when I started, getting into a harness and stuff, and climbing that way. So and then, let's talk about carpentry and stuff. I was that kid, I was a young kid. I was building, I had this little fort that was in my backyard that was tucked between my garage and my neighbor's privacy fence, and
Yeah.
we had this, my mom had we had this roommate person down in our basement, and he built this like little dog pen for his dog so he can live out in the backyard full time and stuff. And it was kind of just left there after it was abandoned after he had moved out with the dog and stuff. And I don't know, I was just like, this is a kind of cool thing to let me add on and like build this like little fort thing between this little fence and my garage. And it was probably like 6 feet off the ground or whatever. And I don't know. I think from there I was kind of just hooked. I was just using hand tools. I didn't have like a drill. I was using a hammer and nails and just all this scrap lumber that I could salvage. off of this one structure to put onto my structure, kind of a situation.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I was probably like 10, 11, 12 in that age bracket and stuff. And it's kind of just grown from there. I've always just been like more of a hands-on person. And as far as like growing into carpentry and climbing together, probably happened or more so around the age of like, 19, 20. I worked at a summer camp where we had a high ropes course, challenge course. And, I was part of like maintaining and working on it and building courses and going from there, learning how to tie knots and do splicing and how cable needs to be ran. And, you start learning about all the ACT standards, which is the Association of Challenge Course Technology, and how things need to be constructed, how many fist grips need to be on the cable, how tight cables need to be, things like that. So, you start gaining that type of knowledge. I worked on my first Canopy project, like Canopy tour project, was in 2013 at Boone Creek Outdoors in Lexington, Kentucky, where I kind of, I don't know, I had an opportunity and that was great, and I got to take it, and it was pretty awesome project, whereas you to see more of like a creative style build, because you have an initial design where someone goes through and comes up with a plan, right? And you kind of like go through and you flag trees and you say, okay, this is going to work, and then once you start going through, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, where you have to be more adaptable to the situation and think of creatively ways of like, oh, okay, so we get to this tree and now we need to gain elevation. What's like a cool platform that we can put in? Okay, let's do this triple stack platform where you come in off of one platform and then you do a ship's ladder up to another platform, and then you do another ship's ladder up to another platform kind of situation,
Mm-hmm.
and thinking of creative ways on like how to suspend this platform. Like this particular platform I'm talking to you about right now, it had like basically a big compression ring at the top, and it had a bunch of cables coming down, and it was basically picking the load up on the outer part of the platform with no down bracing. So everything was just suspended off of the platform, like just free floating, and the cables in the ends were just basically picking up the platform. And, thinking about like how to fabricate, the custom metal pieces for everything, and how to design it, and how are we going to put it around the tree, things like that.
Yeah, that's incredible. For those of us who may not know what like a ship's ladder, what was it, a ship's ladder?
Ship's ladder, yeah.
Yeah. What would that be? Like is that like the rope ladder, or is that like just
a ship's
like
ladder?
Planks? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a single rung sided ladder. It's more of like it has more of a steeper incline to it, as opposed to like an A-frame, where an A-frame opens up a little bit wider. A ship's ladder is just a little bit more tighter. Like I said, it's just not single run, but it's just a single side. There's no other side to it. And it's supported and attached to an object at the top, instead of having a second side come down as it's braced,
Got it. So it's similar to an extension ladder for those people who might be listening.
Yeah, that's a better, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a better way to explain it. I mean, God damn it, I had to go the full, long
No, it's
version.
okay, because for you, that's the basic. That's as like bottom tier as it gets. That's why I'm here, because I don't know. So maybe I can communicate it to people who don't know.
Yeah, no, you did a great job.
That's really interesting. You're touching on a point I was going to bring up when you brought up the prefabricated treehouse is in Kentucky, where they built them beforehand, but then when you get to the tree, when you get suspended, maybe something gets a little bit off kilter, or maybe something you weren't prepared for, you have to adjust for. And you talked about that on this one, where you get to a map of what you want this course to be. and you get to realize that maybe there's a tree where you're not getting as much elevation as you need. So when you get into situations like that, does that excite you to kind of try?
Yeah, I mean that's
obviously it's frustrating.
that just falls under the realm of like creative problem solving. Uh, a deliberate structure method for approaching challenges in an imaginative, innovative way. Because not every, that even goes the same for like the simple little projects that I'm on right now. I'm doing a flooring job that, you would look at it, it just would be a basic situation, and it's really not. There's all these little problems and end up coming up that you have to like, okay, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to come about that? We had to pour a bunch of self-leveler in this big room, and we were trying to figure out like what's the best approach, and it was a very large open space, and other people have all their other little tricks on how they do it and stuff, and we came up with what we thought was the best solution so we could scree everything to level and stuff, and it kind of keeps you on your toes and keeps your mind going and keeps you thinking all the time and stuff.
Yeah. Is there any ideas or stories that pop into your head where like maybe something from just completely different part of your life, you were like, oh, this is a solution I could bring to this construction job? Like an example for me is like if I'm when I was interviewing this person who does pottery, and they were describing the process, and they're going through this, and they had said something that triggered a thought in my head for like photography, where it's like, oh, well, when I'm taking a picture, it's interesting to think about how like the person is kind of like a structure that you're making out of clay, and then kind of, being able to both like touch and feel clay, you can actually understand how it's being manipulated. But when you're looking at it, you don't get that sense. So like you can marry those two ideas in your head, but not necessarily in person.
Yeah.
It's okay. If you don't, I'll come back to that one. It's
Yeah,
just like if there's
I'm sitting here. I'm trying to think of like any of those situations. I mean, I think everything that I've done up to this point has always been related back to like things that I have learned as growing up and through my adolescent years into my early adult years, all the way up into this moment. I was the type of person that you like, I didn't like the color of my bike, so I would strip it down and spray paint it, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was the type of kid that would go garbage pick a lawnmower because it was sitting in the trash and take it home and get it running, and then just try to figure out what I could pour in fuel wise to blow it up. Like I've poured like pure rubbing alcohol into gas tanks before just to get it to rev really high and watch it shoot flames out, and then watch the whole block crack. Like that's that's kind of brought a lot of enjoyment to me. Huh?
Yeah, that's just childhood.
That's just childhood. But
you're definitely that guy. I'm thinking back to, there was a time we were on the Exit River riverbank, and this person was trying to cut this tree limb with this like bad small chainsaw, and they're like, "You look like you know what you're doing," and then you're like, "I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this done with this tiny little, this shitty little chainsaw you have here," and you just kept going at it until you got it. But it's just funny because you are that kind of person who figures it out. Yeah,
I've been. It's a good trait to have of just always being determined to, it's like a not quit attitude, right? Like I'm just gonna keep going and going and going until there's absolutely, I have to throw in the towel and say mercy, and that's very rarely happens. I will go to all ends of the earth to figure out how to get something done or make something work or fix a problem or a solution,
Where do you think that drive comes from?
I don't know. I say I don't know, but I started off as a young person. I I really enjoyed, and it's crazy to say this, but I really liked to work. You know, I really like to just push and challenge myself. And I my great grandfather, he was a good influence on me. You know, he's an older guy who was in his, you know, 80s when he passed away, and I watched his work ethic, and I always thought, like, man, if he could do it at that age, I could definitely be doing it now. You know what I mean? And that kind of evolved
Yeah.
into there. I mean, my grandparents were my first employer. Like like, you know, I'd go do work for them and get paid, and that was great. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, what? I get money? I can walk away with this? Like, it's
I get to
really?
enjoy it
I
and I get paid.
This is, yeah, like, you know, like it was never expected to get paid, and I always just wanted to, like, out of your kindness of your heart, to go and do stuff, but you end up, you know, you just take the money and you just go, right? Like, that's it.
Well, that's super interesting. I wonder, you know, like that's the dopamine reward system working at an early age. And I don't know how much basketball you follow. I know you follow sports a little bit, but Kobe Bryant figured out that he wanted to be in the NBA at like age 13. And
Yeah.
someone talks about when you decide what your purpose is in life is when your life really starts. And some people don't find out until they're like 24, 25, 30, 40, 50, or older. Sounds like, much like Kobe Bryant, you kind of found something that was your calling, which was like this creative problem solving in a physical space.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, and another great, like, story to tell is in work wise. I mean, I have a twin brother, and when we finished our 8th grade year and we were going into 9th grade that summer, we signed up. There's, you know, what is it called? Michigan Works, and they find employment and they help pay for employment and stuff like that. So we got hooked up to go back to the junior high that we just, you know, finished, and we were moving on to high school. And we spent the whole summer, you know, cleaning the school, dude, the school that we hated. Like, you know, we spent the
Yeah.
whole summer.
You didn't want to step foot back in.
Yeah, exactly. And here we are. We're going from goddamn classroom to classroom with a bucket and a scraper, and we're flipping desks over and we're scraping gum, you know, all summer long. And I don't know. I thought it was as crazy as it sounds. It wasn't boring, and I didn't think it was stupid work. I thought it was a great way to, like, teach discipline, honestly.
Yeah.
And in fact, like, my brother and myself were kind of a little bit more responsible than the other kids that were in the program and stuff. And, you know, they kind of they started letting us run, like, the heavy equipment machinery. Like, we're running, stripping big old buffer strippers, you know, for stripping the floor of the wax. And then we're going through and
Like
running
down the main hallway of the school, right?
Yeah, I mean, we started running all this machinery towards the end of our stint there. And, you know, what was cool is obviously we got a paycheck, but at the end of the summer, me and my brother were able to go buy some really cool bikes, you know, and that was enough motivation in itself.
Yeah, and that I love the bicycle as an image for a young adult, like a young kid, because it's like that first sense of freedom. You know, like you get your driver's license, you're free, but like your bike is that first taste of freedom, because you can go to soccer practice, or you can go to school, or you can go find some lawnmowers to blow up. Like
you could go anywhere, and I'll tell you what, as long as your legs could push you there, you can go as far as you want. And that's ended up happening is my brother and myself would just go ride for hours and hours and miles. I mean, we would go. There would be days where we were riding over 20 miles easily. And yeah, a lot of it, we created some mischief in some different towns and stuff, but we were young. That's kind of what you do.
I don't doubt that.
I know what you do. You go out and have some fun. You're young, you know, so why not? You earned it. We earned it.
And you were clearly the good kids for long enough. You know, it was bound to go the mischievous way eventually.
A little bit, yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's a really good point, because I think with that stuff, what happens for a lot of people is they don't realize that a big part of getting things done is being able to measure and track that, or see your progress. And, you know, if you're scraping gum off the bottom of a desk, you start with this picture of like all this gum, and then you slowly start seeing the process as you're, filling, like taking it off, or like maybe you're stripping the wax. You can see that progress, and it's got this great sense of fulfillment, at least in my experience.
No, absolutely. It was really cool to see, like, like, oh wow, we turned like these ugly rooms and desks that were all just like, dirty and disgusting, and we made them clean and worked our butts off all summer long to make it happen. And it was really satisfying to see like the final product, like, oh, everything is complete. Like all the desks are clean, the rooms are clean, the floors are all re-waxed. Yeah, it was, yeah, what a, it's a strange thing to say, because it's like a lot of people don't have that type of work ethic these days anymore. And it's just like, it's, that's one thing I always reflect back to, is like a good, like what got me started and becoming, getting me into the direction that I am in my life. That paved the way. And from that moment going forward, I knew I wasn't going to be an office person, and I knew that I couldn't sit still for that long, and that I needed to be working with my hands and being a creative, be creative and stuff. And that moves into my next topic, is like, I had an opportunity to, in high school, do like auto shop and machine shop and wood shop class. And that's where you start really like honing skills and stuff at a young age. And you start learning like, metal casting and how to cast, melt down metal and cast it into molds and build your molds, or how metal lathes work, and how to do welding, arc welding and stuff. And then what I really enjoyed was our auto shop program. Our auto shop program was pretty stellar. It was a 3-hour, every day was 3 hours. You showed up, and we got to design and create like cars that we were going to take to a racetrack in the springtime. So we'd go to Midland race, speedway track or whatever, and we would do bracket racing, drag racing kind of situation. So it was kind of fun to like sit down and collaborate on like what cars we were going to take, how we were going to, like, what we were going to do to them. And in this particular bracket racing, if we, 13 seconds, I mean, that's kind of teetering on kind of slow when you think about like like drag racing. But the thing is like anything faster, then we needed to start putting roll cages in vehicles and stuff. And, that wasn't really going to be an option for us to do. So, we kept every car around.
Have a committee.
Yeah.
Right, you have a committee of people. So there's other limitations there as well.
Yeah. But, that in itself, allowed me to still continue to work with my hands, and we're going back to the problem solving, like trying to figure out like, like what can we do to make this a little bit better or faster or nicer, or and even to the point where, you're trying to figure out how to get certain nuts and bolts out of vehicles and mechanic and wrench on vehicles and what it actually takes. And it's, they get a bad rap a little bit, but man, I will tell you, it is very hard work. Being a mechanic is not an easy feat for anything. It's, a lot goes into it.
Well, and like it's only getting more complex every day. Like as like the cars become more complex, it just gets harder. But I think it's crazy that people expect to be like, oh, I go into my mechanic and I say, oh, my car's making this like e sound, and they're like, oh, it's the timing belt. How am I supposed to expect this person? But we expect that out of mechanics, and then when they don't get it right immediately, we get upset at them. So I think you're right. Like it's hard work, and mechanics are extremely impressive in what they're able to do and problem solve and accomplish.
Yeah, I absolutely, most definitely.
What drew you to that class originally? Was it the lawnmower maintenance you were doing early on in life, or?
Yeah, man, I like to tinker when, and I had like, I like to do, when I was younger, I would do a lot of like model cars. And I really enjoyed sitting down and like painting each little part. Like custom painting the motor, all the little tiny parts. I would sit and like custom paint each one and do all the detail, and like where there would be like a little silver bolt, I would add a little silver to it, like getting really depth into it, and custom spraying the cars and like the bodies of them and stuff. And I mean, I was really hooked in my early ages on that, right around the lawnmower time, like I had like, I don't, people probably don't even know what these are anymore, but an erector set was basically a bunch of like little steel pieces, and they would give you like a bunch of like blueprints and things that you could do to build and stuff. So I built a lot of like little monster truck cars and just different stuff. And I don't know, I really always liked to just tinker with things at a young age, and that kind of like pushed me into wanting to do shop classes in high school, which I'm absolutely thrilled that I had that opportunity to explore those options then, because not a lot of schools offer that anymore. And those are programs that have been taken away. And I think that's just, I think you're doing a disservice to the community and to, people who really want those programs and stuff.
Yeah, it's my high school. I found out my senior year that our football field house was the old shop class, and I was like, wait, we had shop here at one point? Like, I would have taken shop in a second. Like, where did it go? And it's liability and all of the dangerous tools, and maybe not the smartest kids being around those, but it was just a real disappointment, because I, like you, I had this one friend, we'd always go over to his place, and his dad had this big scrap pile of wood, and he'd be like, all right, here's this drill, you guys just make whatever you want. And I'm pretty sure, I can't prove it, but I think when we would finish building, he would just disassemble them so that next weekend we could just do something again, because I never saw the finished works after they were done. Like, I never saw them a second time. But at a young age, I enjoyed building stuff too.
That's pretty funny. That's really good.
Yeah.
You're like, where's it at? It's gone. Like, what the
fuck? Someone must have stole it. It looks so good, Tripp. That chair. The one with 3 legs? Yeah.
Yeah. That's too good.
But yeah, it's honestly, it led to, now what I do is, if I see some furniture on the side of the road, I almost always pick it up, see if I can restore it a little bit, maybe flip it. And
nice.
That's always more work than I think it's going to be.
It always is. And how are you, like, are you trying to like sand it down and restain? Are you painting, or what are you doing?
Yeah. So with the most recent one, I found this like 1970s, 80s coffee table that was just this disgusting dark stain, but it had these really cool details in like the wood that you just don't see anymore. And I saw it and I was like, I want to get that. I want to clean it. I want to strip it. But with all the detail, sanding was going to be impossible. So I got some of that citrus strip and covered the whole thing. I'd never worked with that before. I don't think I'll ever work with it again.
You said you'll never work with it again?
Oh, like I was smelling. I think sometimes when there's a draft, I still smell orange.
Did you at least wear gloves?
Yeah, okay. I wore gloves. I did wear gloves. But man, we talked before this started about how sweaty I am as a person.
Yeah.
The second a latex glove is on my hand,
it
is wet.
Oh man,
it's wet in there. It's bad.
Oh,
but yeah, I cleaned the whole thing, and then I stripped it. It took a lot more passes than I thought it would, but I finally got it, pretty cleared up. And then what ended up happening was I didn't get it all the way stripped, so a lot of those details kept that old dark stain.
Yeah, which
just helped the contrast, which was pretty cool. And then I was gonna stain it with like a dark, like mahogany color again. And my mom's an interior designer, and she saw it, and she's like, I really just like that color as is. So I just kind of recoated it with a clear coat. And I mean, it's in my living room. It's one of my favorite things that I've done recently. One of my old roommates, we stripped a table that he like sanded down a table that he bought from Goodwill. And I recently got a table saw, and other than almost losing half my thumb, I did build a table with it.
Oh, cool.
But yeah,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, I was, but it was definitely, I can't really show it on. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's not great,
Yeah.
but there's luckily I watched a YouTube video where someone's like, "Oh, don't set the saw much higher than the piece of wood, because if your thumb goes over the saw, it won't cut it that bad." So I had set it just like a little bit of like or above the wood grain, and was pulling the wood out the back end, and it just pulled my thumb back over the blade.
Yeah, it will do that. See, that's why we need
Yep.
shop classes in high school, because you won't be doing shit like that.
Not after high school.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do it in high school.
Yeah, I have man, I was in shop class in high school, and it kind of like gave me a fear of a table saw. I was building like a little tiny jewelry box and stuff, and just cutting these tiny little pieces. And you do have kickback on the saw and stuff occasionally, and stuff. And man, I had got the piece through, and it kicked back, and it hit me directly right on my thumb right here, and it instantly just split it with blood, right? Like to the point where I lost half my nail because it broke it and cracked it, and but I was super intimidated to use a saw for a very long time after that. I was like, no table saw for me.
One piece of you get one thing kicked back at you. Like I was doing it in front of the garage door, and then I was like kind of off to the side because like one kicked back and it launched past me, and I was like, all right, this thing is really spitting these things out. I got to be very careful. And so, yeah, it's definitely what garnered my respect. I live in an apartment right now, so I don't use it that often, but I still have the table saw.
All right. What kind of saw is it? That's going to be the determining factor.
Is a rigid.
Okay.
It's a rigid 5-inch radius.
Yeah.
So 10-inch diameter saw blade.
There you go. Look at you, dude. You know what you're talking about.
See, yeah,
You know some stuff, man.
Yeah. What would you recommend? I know you're a DeWalt guy, right? Are you still a DeWalt guy?
Well, I have a couple of my tools are DeWalt. My main chop saw, miter saw, and my table saw is DeWalt. But other than that, I am a Milwaukee person.
I can tell.
Yeah. Not quite Makita, not quite DeWalt, but Milwaukee.
Yeah. I'm slowly becoming a Ryobi guy.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing, right? Like you got Ryobi's affordable for, the typical what we would refer into the trades as like the homeowner, right? Like the homeowner tool.
Yeah.
You just needed to do the basic simple stuff, right? And the reason why I got into Milwaukee is because when we were doing when I was on that Canopy tour project in 2013, they had Milwaukee drills and tools and stuff, and man, I was just highly impressed. Right, like these are great. This looks great. They're falling out of the trees like 30, 40 feet, still working.
Yeah.
And as soon as I ended that project, I bought my first drill impact combo battery setup, and the thing is, Tripp, is once you buy one set and you get into it's the batteries, because once you get into the batteries, you're pretty much hooked. They got you.
You're locked into that.
You're locked in. Cameras. I got 10 Milwaukee batteries now. I'm not going back. There's no going to another brand name after this.
Especially because Colin and I were talking about this in the last episode because he had his camera stolen, and he's like, I have this gear and I could sell it for half the price, or I can give it to a filmmaker in need. I was the filmmaker in need. But yeah, it's like you can try and switch, but if you have all of this used gear, you're not going to get what you need out of it in order to buy. So like you're selling 10 batteries, you're going to maybe get 3 back if you switch.
Exactly.
So you might as well just stay where you're at.
Yeah, you might as well. There's no going back. That's guaranteed.
As for now, what kind of creative outlets do you have outside of your daily work
Out of
construction project, your small projects?
Yeah, you guys, you know a little bit about my videographer work and stuff, and I had really got into filming and wanting to make videos, and not necessarily am I a good editor, because I'm not. I don't have any patience for that. I just like to the style of like actually capturing content and how to capture it. I think it's you go about it like in an artist's way of like, oh, I like this in the background. I'm going to try to figure out how to get it in there, but also kind of make it like not focused into the scene, things like that. And how to like shoot and put a whole scene together and adding a lot of B-roll footage. I think I really enjoyed like trying to figure out like B-roll and stuff. And I was, but I haven't done that in a little bit of time now. I've kind of just walked away from that, but I thought it was important to bring up because it was something that I was really into at one point. And man, I have like probably 2 terabytes of videos that can be made still on top of what is already out there on the internet and on YouTube. I had a person, Levi, edited all these videos and put these videos together, whether if they're good or not. It allowed him exposure of like how to edit and make things and do things, and it gave me the motivation to like want to get content and put it together and stuff. So yeah. And as far as like being creative now, I've really into just making my own like fishing jigs. I really like just buying all the stuff to get the supplies and make my own halibut rigs for fishing. It's kind of cool. Like you make something, you put it together and you catch fish with it. That's pretty awesome.
That's a super cool reward. That is a really good reward. I'd imagine that's similar to getting that bike after a summer of hard work.
It kind of is. Yeah. It's really rewarding. Be like, oh, wow. I like put this together and I'm catching fish all the time with it now. I'm filling my freezer.
Yeah. And then do you find yourself like, oh, this one worked a little bit better? Are you experimenting with the styles of?
Yeah, I'm definitely experimenting with like snail knots and like how to crimp it on and experimenting with like length if I'm doing a double hook system. I'm constantly changing things and figuring out what would work better or what I'm getting better bites off of and stuff. And then when I kind of find something that's working pretty well, I kind of just stick with it a little bit. But
yeah,
I mean, that goes with all fishing. Like, I'm not the best troller. Like I'm horrible at trolling fish. Like they're out there just jumping away and like I'm watching other people catch them and stuff. But what I'm going to do is not give up. I'm just going to keep going and figuring out. I'm going to watch videos and see what people are doing and try to implement it as best as I can. And, I catch a fish here and there, but nothing, I wish it was a little bit more fish.
A little freezer space.
I wish I was catching a little bit more fish trolling, but it's a hard art. It really is. There's all kinds of techniques that are involved with it. How far your depth you're going. We got the currents here out in the bay that you got to take into factor. Your flasher, like what type of flasher to use, just your whole rig setup. So yeah, I'm constantly changing that whole setup to figure out like what's going to work best, and out of the 8 years I've been fishing out here, I think I've only caught like 4 or 5 fish trolling.
That's wild. Is that more or less than dip netting?
It's way less. Like,
okay, so because I've only been I went with you for your first time dip netting and you caught 1. So I was just wondering if you had caught more.
Tripp, I've been dip netting multiple times now since then. I've gotten.
Yeah, but it sounds like you've been trolling a lot too.
I do try to troll as much as I can. It's not. I want to like it. I really want to enjoy it. I don't give up on it. It's. I wouldn't say it's not my favorite because it does kill time, and I do trust me. I ultimately want to be really good at it. And I mean, I could ask people for advice and stuff, but I kind of like the idea of me trying to figure this out on my own, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's more. It's not necessarily like you're looking for the solution. It's the process of finding it.
Exactly.
Right.
And like one of
You
these
could
days,
you could find an answer like that.
yeah, and one of these days it's going to click and it's going to be like, oh, this is all I needed to do. You're right. Like, and that's going to be great when it happens.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the best feelings is when you've been working at something for so long, and then you push through that barrier you didn't even know was like the actual obstacle to get it past.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah. No, that's a good way to put it.
My dad and I used to go fishing a lot when I was a kid, and he'd always want to do trolling. We'd go to Mexico, and he'd always wanted to do troll fishing, and he's like, yeah, I just jig fishing it's just too boring. You're just sitting there all day. Trolling, it's a lot more active. And I was like, because you're driving the boat. Everyone else is just sitting around waiting for something to happen.
That's so funny you say that because I am so the opposite. I am the opposite of like, I would rather sit and jig up and down,
Mm-hmm.
because that's another art form. Like, you know, I call it the dance, you know, you gotta dance that thing just right to kind of get it attracted, you know, like
Yeah.
no one, I always like to use the term like no one's attracted to a lazy stripper, right? Like
Just sitting on the chair like,
no,
yeah.
man, you got to perform. You got to
no one's going to give that any money.
Yeah, you got to perform and make it attractive, you know? Like
Yeah. That's how I felt snagging. Cuz snagging, it just seems like the easiest form of fishing until you do it and you can't catch a fish to save your life. I mean, you're just dragging an empty hook and the fish are coming by and you can't hit anything.
yeah.
You feel like the biggest idiot, and then it clicks and you're limiting out. It was quite I honestly don't know what I started doing right, but I would love snagging.
Maybe the fish started coming in, you know.
Yeah, maybe that's the case.
You know, what's funny is I don't snag that much out there anymore as I used to. I like 17, 18, 19, I was going quite often, and I've really switched over to going over to the Kenai to floss for the salmon instead. It's a little bit more challenging, and I say challenging. Sometimes it's like shooting fish in a barrel; they're just there. But it's a little bit more thrilling. You get more of that realistic fishing. And yeah, it's a great another great well, how do I want to say it? Great experience of learning like the knot tying again. Like I started like you can buy your own fly setup for flossing salmon, but I actually been just now starting to put my own fishing rigs together on that too, and which has been awesome because it's like these things, like another thing where you're like you put this whole assembly together, and at the end of it you've gone out and you caught 3 fish. You know, it's like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, that reward is so I not as masculine as yours. I started making sourdough recently, and it's a long process. It's a very involved process, but like. The bread when it comes out, when I have my toast in the morning, I'm like, this is just so good. This is better than any sourdough I've ever had. And it's not like the flavor's not where I want it to be, but it's this process of doing it, and it takes 2 days to make. And then I'm like, man, this toast is exactly what I need right now, because it just tastes like all that hard work was worth it.
Yeah, they don't tell you that when you go to start your starter with sourdough, that it actually, like, anytime you want to go bake, you might as well plan 2 days of your time being consumed. It's a lot of studying and resting.
It's a lot of rest. It's a lot of sitting. It's funny because I mean, I've been telling people this, and everyone's first response is like, oh, how challenging is that? It's like a toddler. And I'm like, if this is like a toddler, I could be like a father of 10. It's not that hard. I'm just folding some bread, and then I throw it back to just sit on the counter, and then I come back in 30 minutes. If that's parenthood, sign me up.
Yeah. And then like you occasionally got to feed your starter, you know, you got to do some things with it.
Yeah, occasionally. But I also don't have a lot on my task list these days, so The sourdough
No, but the
sundaes are
thing,
just easy.
let's talk about the thing of like doing new and creative things and like how that impacts your brain and thinking, right? Like you're creating new neurons in your brain that the fire, new pathways to your brain and stuff.
Oh, 100%. And that's why I asked about the do you ever have something that ties to your construction that maybe came from outside, like maybe the meticulous nature of your knot tying, or seeing Donnie and the meticulous nature he does for carpentry, maybe that carries over to when you're making like a jig or a floss rig. It's those neural pathways that you're creating. It's so cool. That's why I love being creative, and I think everyone needs to be maximizing how creativity in their life and doing more creative things, because you do make those new neural pathways in your brain, and it really helps your cognitive ability get a lot stronger.
Yeah, it's funny you were talking about this too, and as I've obviously you have like art class in elementary and middle school and high school and stuff, and that those are all great, and then you get into adulthood, and then you kind of like you stop doing those kind of things, right? Like in my situation where I've had an injury that sidelining me from work for a while, and I went to this program where we had like art therapy, and I'm just like, oh, this is just crazy and blah, blah, blah. But, the reality of it is that it was extremely beneficial. I had a brain injury, and art therapy that I was doing really, one, just helped me out cognitively, and it allowed me to start expressing myself in a different way and things, and that had gone into, it's funny you mentioned like redoing furniture and stuff, and after the program I had gone into a stint of actually redoing furniture myself, where I was finding furniture on the road and taking it home, and I'm really familiar with the orange citrus wood stripper. I'm well versed familiar with it.
There's nothing that smells quite like it, man.
No,
and when
there
it gets
isn't.
the stain in there too. Oh,
But these are
nothing quite like it.
Yeah, and these are things that I needed to do to have a creative outlet, because if not, I was just starting to feel very stagnant, And then I had gone back to work, and then life happens, and sometimes life prevents people from exploring creative ideas or creative thinking and stuff like that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like these big, lavish creative projects. It could be just as creative as sitting down and just like writing some stuff out. Journaling can be creative. What else? Like, one thing I took a water painting class here at AvTech a couple weeks ago, and that was really inspiring. So they gave us our little watercolor paint tin thing, and I came home and I actually sat for 4 days and painted this really awesome morel mushroom. And
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Yeah, you want to see it?
Yeah, I want to see it. Yeah. Yeah, this is literally what it's all about. This is exactly why I have this podcast.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah. Oh man, the morel, it looks so much more dangerous than it is.
Yeah, but there's a lot of detail in there.
No, yeah, you did a great job. I'm saying that the morel looks like it's a psychedelic mushroom, but it's not.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I encountered the morel. It was Herrick introduced me to it. He pulled out this pillowcase full of mushrooms, and he's like, "We're gonna have these for dinner. You want some?" And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to have that kind of experience. He's like, "These are just regular mushrooms, man."
Yeah, and here's a little dragonfly I'd been working on too, right?
That one's also incredibly detailed.
Yeah, I want to add some more purple into there, so I don't have a dark purple, so I got to go to the store. But yeah, this is just tinkering around. I did this in a couple hours, but what it allowed me to do is kind of shut my mind off and just kind of be focused on this and not really be into like what's going on around me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just kind of step into that flow state, be a little bit more present, and just
Yeah.
do something that I think it's what the hardest thing for people these days is because there's so many options for like easier ways of kind of going through that, dopamine reward system where you can go on Instagram or you can turn on Netflix or you can do both or, do something like that. It's a lot more daunting to do something like set up the watercolor paints and start painting or, go out and videotape something. And it's so much more rewarding just to do
No,
that for 45 minutes.
yeah, the thing that I can encourage everyone off of this conversation we're having is we are becoming victims to our devices. And I think it's really important that we do set aside time and just do something small and creative and get away from it and just put your phone on silent, put it in a drawer, walk away from it for 45 minutes and sit down and do something that you never thought you would really do, or, go down that avenue.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a part of you that ties this watercolor back to when you were painting those models?
Painting what?
The models, the model cars?
Yeah, this is it's so funny. You look back at it, it's like that was a little bit easier, than
Really?
doing this watercolor. Yeah, because water, once you introduce the water to the paint, it's like you got to have a lot of self-control, right? Like it can get messy very quickly and stuff. I mean, luckily, like some of this stuff that the class, what it did is it allowed you taught us on how to like work and maneuver the watercolor and different techniques and stuff. So basically I took what I had learned there and kind of applied it here, but it's not like acrylic paint. Like once you mess up, there's no going back. It's very hard to cover up and hide, it's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have some mess ups, and I do have some mess ups. If you look at the morel mushroom, it's like, I was like, what was I thinking? Like, God damn it. No going back on that one or trying to fix it and blend it and stuff.
Yeah. Well, because less is more with watercolor, more than like acrylic, you can add paint on top of it and like you can let it dry,
You can
add more
hide it.
paint, hide things.
Yeah. And like once watercolor dries on paper and you introduce it with a wet brush, even with another color, it's getting wet again and it's reactivating the paint, it's like it's there.
It's locked in.
Yeah. Another thing that I've been working on recently is I was influenced by Instagram. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a great influence. I have nothing against Instagram. I just think we need less.
Yeah, but it got me thinking like I could do this. And I'm kind of failing at it right now, and that's okay. I will figure it out. So I came across this guy's page where he's I came across this guy's page, and he's basically turning old propane tanks, like 20-pound, 100-pound, 50-pound tanks into like these lanterns. So he's basically like using a plasma cutter. And he's cutting out like all these like flowers, and I kind of got inspired by the dragonfly from one of his things. I was like, that is pretty cool. Like dragonflies are the shit. Like if you don't know anything about dragonflies, they are the best air support. They eat the shit out of mosquitoes. They're beautiful. They have beautiful colors to them. And he made this like really cool dragonfly lantern by plasma cutting it out of a propane tank, and I was like, man, that is something I could do myself, or that's something I want to learn, right? Like, so what do? I go on and I research like a basic affordable plasma cutter, right? And
the Ryobi.
Yeah.
You're getting into the Ryobi of plasma cutters.
It seems like it's a legit plasma cutter, and so I get on Amazon and I order up this plasma cutter, and it shows up in the mail, and I had done my little bit of research on how much air pressure you actually need, and I have like a little pancake air compressor. I was like, I bet I can run this thing off of this little pancake air compressor. It's probably what, a 2.5 gallon. Okay. And so, I don't know nothing about plasma cutting. And so I go down the whole rabbit hole of like teaching myself. I'm reading like charts on how to, like, the thickness and like the amps that you need and the PSI and all this other stuff. So I'm educating myself. And so I get this thing and I get it all set up and I get the air compressor hooked up and I get my design. So I go to the library and I print off a bunch of like designs that I know that I can transfer onto this tank that I could cut out instead of like trying to freehand it and stuff, right? Like creating these templates. And so, it's cold up here in Seward right now, and I get this table set up outside. I first of all, I go to the dump. And I'm in the metal. I go to the back metal yard and I'm salvaging these tanks and stuff. And I find like this awesome like tray that actually I can sit the tank in there to keep it from rolling. So I was like, that's a great idea. I'm gonna take that thing with me. So I'm all set up and I start running the plasma cutter, and I quickly realize that I don't have enough air to run this machine, right? It's just like spitter spatter, like just it's cutting, but my compressor's turning on like every 3 seconds, right? Like I can't even keep up with the air. It's just like I'm burning through the air. I'm like, God dang it. I really want to cut this design out. I really want to make this happen. And I realized, like, you know what? It's going to be for another day. I got to find a bigger tank because I can't. It's like you turn it on, you turn the gun handle on and let it run for a minute, and it's just like boom, already kicking on. So I wasn't defeated. Yeah, I kind of had like a small moment of feeling like defeated of like, because I really wanted to accomplish it then at that very moment kind of attitude, where then after it failed, I was just like, I guess I got to step back and rethink the solution to this problem, which is basically figuring out if I can borrow a bigger air tank or if I'm purchasing a bigger air tank to make this happen. Right.
Yeah. You got to decide how much you want it.
Yeah. So, exactly. Well, then I, shortly after that, I go down this rabbit hole of like, well, maybe I want to do some wood carving. Right. Maybe I want to figure out how to do some wood carving. So I'm going to show you. I'm in my kitchen right now, and I'm clamping up. You see all this wood right here?
Yeah.
I don't have any clamps. I don't know where any of my clamps are. So I made this system to clamp and glue these 1x5s together. Right. So there's 3 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
They're that long. Right. And I get this idea. That I want to carve a fucking horse's head, dude. I want to like make a sculpture of a horse's head. So this is 3, and I have another 3 already glued up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this is cedar. I'm going to take some another 1x that's pine, and I'm going to sandwich it in between the 2 and glue it all up. And I'm going to try to carve a goddamn horse's head.
I think it's going to be great. I think no matter what, it's going to be great.
This is my template, dude.
I like that. That's awesome.
Right? Yeah, I'm trying here.
No, I like it's a very minimalist. I love the lines. It looks like an artist rendition of like what Ford could probably like update the Mustang logo to look like. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take full credit that I freehanded this, but I did get creative on how to get the template. We'll just say that.
Say that.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't know. I'm waiting for these pieces to dry, and I'm gonna try to trace this out on both sides and go to town to see if I can carve it out.
Yeah.
I did do an ice carving class. Not this winter, but last January, where we were given like a block of ice, and the instructor was really good, and he was this old ice carver, and man, if you ever carved like 3-dimensional, it's very tough, and so I made this fish. Our object was to like draw out like a fish out onto this block and like kind of chisel it all out, you know. And at the end of it, I ended up with like this stubby little fish that was like this big with this short little tail, and it was just like so disproportionate, and it really gave me appreciation to like people who can actually carve 3D, you know.
Yeah, it's I get the same thing. I've been doing a lot of sketching recently, and I get the same proportional issues where like I'm like, if I were sketching you, I'd like start with your head, and I would be like figuring out how, you know, the shape of your head is, and then I would get to your like shoulders, and then they would either be like gargantuan, like just massive shoulders, and your body is like this big body, and your face is like, your head is like tiny, or vice versa. You have this tiny little body and this huge head. And I can just never get especially with hands, I can't get the proportions down. And that's part of that process of just doing it until you figure it out. Like one day you will get the hand-eye coordination to figure out, you know, the proportions of the fish you're carving, or maybe the horse head. I think the horse head's going to come out perfect first try. I believe it.
You know, it's funny. I was just thinking here about like sketches and stuff, and I kind of maybe seen a meme about it, but it's like, I remember like just sitting in elementary or middle school or whatever, and you're kind of just like killing time, and you're like drawing like bullshit cars and stuff, right? But it's like, you know what's funny? All of them, like I'm really reflecting back, and most of them look like the new Tesla truck, you know?
The you were sketching the
Cybertruck. Like every I was drawing the Cybertruck before even Tesla was a thing. Most of us were like my age group. Like, I mean, all of our cars look like boxy cars, like the Cybertruck.
Yeah, like the Cybertruck is the DeLorean 2.0. But yeah, Colin was always sketching a Jeep. Colin sketched like 12 Jeeps in our government class in high school.
Yeah,
and I was always just like, "You ever want to draw another car?" And he's like, "I don't think I can."
Were you ever into like coloring books?
I enjoyed coloring books. I more enjoyed doing like freehand and painting or drawing my own thing. But coloring books are fun. I would always try to make it the most ridiculous colors. Like if it were a toucan, it would be like Phoenix Suns colors or something like that.
Yeah, I had this friend in elementary that we used to draw like superheroes and make comic books and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like thinking back to how like often I was doing creative things as a kid, and like how infrequently I do it now. And so I've really been trying to do more creative things. And it's funny, I was telling Colin that Alaska seems to be this like creative playground. Like everyone I meet up there is doing 2 to 3 different creative things. I mean, everyone's a painter or a photographer, or, you know, carving or building something at any moment.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of that in the community and stuff. I think you see it more prevalent because the communities are much smaller, right? And so you tend to know more people, and it's very interesting. I mean, any of the restaurants or bars or shops, and I mean 99% of the time you're going to see like local artists work all around the building and stuff, you know? Yeah, no, Alaska's a great place. It's got a great music scene. It's got a great photography scene, great artist scene for sure.
It's honestly, it's an adult's playground. I love Alaska. I was telling Colin I'm trying to get up there this summer. That's the goal right now, is to get up there this summer. We'll see how I can make it happen. But
you going to come for the whole summer or what?
I would love to come for the whole summer. That is not impossible. I could make that happen. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I just would have to figure out housing.
Yeah, well, there's a cabin on Bear Lake. Maybe you can be someone's roommate.
Yeah, I am familiar with Bear Lake. I might probably have a better time staying in that ship's helm. The sauna is probably a better place for me. But yeah, I do want to get up there this summer, at least for a week or two. Just to, I would love to do it for the 4th, but I mean, it's just going to be so busy.
Yeah, I am Jeremy Freeman, and I'm a carpenter, craftsman, fabricator. And you can
Awesome.
find me at Builder of Your Dreams on Instagram.
Always got to do a plug. I love it. That's perfect. I'm gonna stop this. I'm gonna stop this recording unless you have anything you want to say.
No,
Any last remark?
last remark is just get out there and try it. You know, that's it.